was their boss. I was the guy everybody looked up to,
Mhm.
right? All the people in the telcos knew me. So I was very powerful.
Yeah.
Lies. Do not peg your power on your position, peg it on your personality. I learned that lesson.
Wow.
Because all my powers was the position. What they knew was the CEO of MTech. Right? It was MTech. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. At that point, it wasn't me. It was my office. Right?
Yeah.
So the day I resigned,
Powers out.
my
call
phone
stopped.
that used to ring non-stop
Yes.
stopped ringing.
Oh gosh.
All the people who promised me they were going to do this for me, they were going to do that for me,
Wow.
nobody.
Hello, champions. We are back with yet another episode of the Champions Podcast. And we're super excited to bring you another entrepreneur who's part of the class of the new age of Kenya's and Africa's movers and shakers. My very good friend and brother, Ike. It's great to have you on the show.
Really have you too. Thank you.
Ike's story is amazing. From waiting tables in Nigeria to coming to East Africa and spicing up the airwaves with amazing Nigerian music and events. And then now you're revolutionizing healthcare with Zuri Health. And what's super interesting is like 2 weeks ago, we attended his book launch for his autobiography, which was super interesting. I kid you not, I read cover to cover in like 3 days. It's very exciting, and he'll tell us all about it. And his life is really an inspiration and a true testament to, story of hope and resilience and ambition and passion and community and all that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. And we'd love to start with your story of waiting tables and serving food at 10. That is...
Yeah, quite exciting.
Yeah.
In Enugu.
Yes. So I like to cook now. People say, why do you like to cook? A lot of people know that it was necessity, that drove me to cooking. So I was 10. My father had just lost his job. We had moved from an estate where we used to live to Enugu City. And as a child, my mom was a perfect hostess. She, my dad wouldn't even give notice. From lunchtime, he would show up at the house with 6, 7 friends. And my mom would just get into the kitchen and cook.
Yeah.
And me, the guy who likes to eat, I will be in the kitchen, maybe trying to taste everything. And from there, I was watching her cook. So when my dad lost his job, and with what happened with a lot of men, during that time, it was very hard on him. Right. So what I noticed in their generation is all, when you're in public service or, in employment, when you lost your job, it had a mental, effect on them. So he sort of sat, and the trauma was heavy on him. Why was the trauma heavy on him? 3 things. One, my father was the breadwinner of not just his immediate family, but his extended family. He was the one taking his siblings to school. 2 was by his make. His ability to provide was what defined him. So losing that ability to provide
your
sort of made him doubt himself. And 3, we were very young. In fact, a year to my father losing his job was when my mom got employment as a teacher in a college of education. For that 1 year that she was employed, she didn't even know where her salary was paid. Right. So it was after my father lost his job, she said, okay, maybe now I need to go and ask them, do I get paid here? And they said, we've been paying you for 1 year. She said, oh, really? Which account?
Okay.
So now when all that happened, there was my mom being the entrepreneur, wanted to ask a question in terms of how do I support? So she said, well, I can cook. I know how to cook. So even before we opened the restaurant, she used to sell eggs and the sodas. So there was I remember we used to live on 5 Mount Drive, Independence Layout. There would be a signpost for your fresh eggs and soft drinks. Come to 5 Mount Drive, and people will come. And guess who would be the guy selling them the sodas? And it was me.
Okay.
Then my dad had an office that he set up to try and do biashara, but I don't think my dad should ever do biashara. It's not business, is not his calling.
Okay.
He should never do biashara. No. The guy should never do biashara. So he had a shop that he set up, an office that he got in a commercial place and said he was going to use it at his office.
Okay.
But it was empty and he paid like 3 years rent.
Oh gosh.
And it was empty and there was nothing. So my mom said, you know what, I want to convert it into a restaurant so I can cook. So she made some blue chairs, I can remember, took one of the freezers at home there and set it up as a restaurant. Now, but how the restaurant used to function is I remember my mom had a day job, right?
Yes.
Unless it's on weekends where she will be, so she will pre-make food. So she will say, I'll make rice, moi, whatever for like 30 people. She put it in coolers and tell me how to dish them, right? So because it was very tasty, by 1 p.m. it's over. People used to come. So and one day I just sat and said, this is why I know how she used to make this thing.
Yes.
So I remember that she put like a cooker in the place, and that cooker was for me to warm the food for people who wanted it very hot.
Okay.
Microwaves were not
at the time.
So people wanted it very hot. So reheat the food and serve them. So I'm like, I can make this thing she makes, right? Why can't I just take the money I have sold to go buy rice, tomatoes, whatever? So I went out, bought tomatoes. That place, they blended it, bought some things. I came back and I started cooking.
Wow.
Now, so it was a camp gas. I remember it was a orange camp gas. That was the whatever. So it was too hot. I brought it outside. I put it and I was cooking. Then people gathered.
Wow.
They were watching. So remember that they knew my father as somebody who was very well to do. Then all of a sudden, they knew he lost his job.
And the family
the family. So they were like, this guy can. So they were watching me. Then they were now very excited for me.
Okay.
They were now, yes. Then I remember one woman coming to say, no, don't add this one yet. Wait for it to dry a bit. So I made the food. And in maybe 30 minutes, it was done.
Wow.
So my mom would finish her whatever and come back to get me for us to go home.
Oh.
So then my dad will come with her. Because then what happened was that we had 2 cars. So my dad said he would now maybe do public transportation, right? A taxi. There were no Ubers then, so you hail a taxi and people get into taxis. So
and taxi in Nigeria is matatu.
Matatu, yeah. He would go with his and my. But you see, that's why I said my dad was not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My dad would be driving to pick. So then you see a friend say, how are you? Where are you going to? Don't worry, I'll drop you.
Oh my god.
Right? Gosh. You enter. When
yes.
you call a person, or you see somebody, person, please, I don't have money, sir. My father will say, enter.
Oh gosh.
My mom
very
is
generous.
My mom is too gangster for that. So my dad went pick my mom and came, then saw a crowd. Then I remember one mechanic who used to change tires told my mom that Ike's food is very good.
Okay.
And his name is AGK. He's late now. And my mom said, no, Ike doesn't cook the food. I do. Yeah. He said no.
Yeah.
He did. He cooked.
Yes.
I saw him.
My mom ran inside. I was like, I see bumped this place.
Yes. Yeah.
And my dad was very upset. Right? The reaction of my parents were different. My dad was very upset because my dad was like, this is not, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? My mom was very proud.
Mm.
Like he said, okay, you turned, let's say 2,000 shillings to
Yeah.
4,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
And that was how I started cooking.
Oh
That was how
my
I started
gosh.
running the restaurant.
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
So I remember the first week, my father refused. He was very upset. I said, no, my son is not going to do this. You want to go, you're going to go into high school, right? And go and become a medical doctor. After talking, my mom would say, you don't have a plan, right? So then essentially they got used to me running it, which means that my mom will make the complicated stuff, but the basic stuff, she'll leave it to me. So I'll make it. Then I started introducing things like, selling beer. I'll say pepper soup that people, when they drink whatever, they will like meat. I'll say, can we make pepper soup? She said, that's a great idea. So I'm making pepper soup, beer.
So you started expanding.
I started expanding the product offering.
You grew the menu.
Expanding the product offering.
Nice.
And there was this man. Remember, his name is Gabriel Echetabo. I will never forget this man. So he used to come there. In fact, his other brother was a very wealthy guy who lived in the East. That's the community where we live. So let's say we were living in the version of Runda in Enugu. That's where we're living. Right? Now, it was for very wealthy people. My father couldn't afford for us to pay rent there. But in his thinking, leaving the comfort we had in the estate, where after he lost his job, he didn't want us to sort of suffer. So he wanted us to be in an environment where we could be influenced by seeing that
what you see.
Yes, what we see. So we lived there. So pay rent was a hassle, but we lived there. So the HRD was talking about, the man, his older brother was very wealthy, had a massive house, right? So his kids were my peers, right? So we used to peep at them, look at them when we're going to church and, say hi. So their brother, who was living in America, the man came one day, and after I served him food and whatever, he told me that if I tried to be a medical doctor, he would pay my fees.
Okay, wow.
But he did something else. He asked me how much my school fees was. And I told him. He put his hand in his pocket, counted the money, and gave to me.
My goodness.
For getting into high school. So when I got there, so usually after high school, maybe when we're on midterm breaks and whatever, and I come back home, I used to be at the restaurant. Right? Yeah.
Gosh, so your cooking really opened all these doors for you.
Yes.
So it opened all these doors for you. So when you're cooking, I'm sure, so was your mind then like, started saying, okay, I can really start a business? Of course, you could see now your dad is not good at business. So was your mind thinking, I think I could be very good at this business thing? Or were you really of the mind that you want to pursue medical school?
I was, at that point, I was going to be a doctor, right? I didn't look at doing those things because I wanted to be a business person. I was trying to solve a problem. And I think that's at the core of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is about problem solving. So what problem was I trying to solve? I was trying to solve a problem of poverty, right? I knew we didn't have enough. I knew my mother needed help. I knew my younger siblings didn't have things. And I felt that by supporting, I also knew that my father mentally was not in the right place. He had checked out, right? And I think he was also tired. All his life, he had been carrying people. Before he got married, he was raising his siblings, had kids at a late age, right? Like I'm 40, my dad is 77. And, that means he had a child at 37. At that time, that was late.
Yes,
we were having kids
time.
at 20.
Yeah.
Right? So he had struggled. So mentally, right? Mentally, my dad had checked out because, I was 10. So he was probably 47, heading to his 50s and abruptly lost his job. So it was hard, very hard for him. Somebody who is not entrepreneurial in a way, but somebody who is process oriented. So it was hard on him. So I saw that as a child. I saw that very well. So what was in my head was, what can I do to help?
I see. An interesting point. So there's this analogy I've had of really what motivates people to become exceptional and what really motivates people to like work hard and achieve success. And they did this experiment in the US where they put a rat in a cage and then they put cheese at the end. And then and then it had to pull itself. It was like a bladder towards the cheese. So it would pull and then it wouldn't reach the cheese. It will like kind of stop.
Yeah.
So at one end of the cage, they also put like the scent of a cat trying to hunt this mouse.
Yeah.
And the mouse would go so fast and reach the cheese, like the reward. So the lesson here is, are you motivated more by, the reward, where you want to go? Or are you motivated more by like pain and fear?
Hunger.
Hunger.
Hunger
So
is
what
no
is it for
greater
you?
motivation than hunger, right? No greater motivation than hunger. So I think at that point it was hunger.
Mm-hmm.
So I will look at it from different cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Today, my motivation is my family.
Yeah.
Right? When I look back and I look at my girls, look at being able to provide for them, to give them the best. That's my motivation. The second is there was a time the motivation was fear of failure.
Okay.
Right? It gets to a time where you become afraid that if I fail, what will people say? So you do everything not to fail. So it depends on cycle. At that point in my life, hunger was the motivation.
I see.
It was hunger because I couldn't look beyond the next meal. There was no. If I tell you at 10, I was thinking of how I'm going to be a millionaire. That's aspire to perspire rubbish. That's
aspire to perspire.
That's what motivational people say. It doesn't mean anything. It's hunger. I just needed to eat.
Wow.
And what informed what you went on to do after? Is it because you're not a doctor?
Yeah.
When you run a health tech now, which is full circle,
Yeah.
interesting. But you went on to study something different.
Yes. So when I couldn't hack biology and physics or chemistry, I said, this thing is not for me, man. This is not for me. What kind of thing that you have to sit? Yes, no. No, not at all. What was important for me, I like stories, I like gist, I loved politics. I read my father's diaries, right? What I used to do is my father used to document diaries.
Journal.
Oh my God, I used to read. So in 1976, there's a guy who upset my father. I know the story.
Oh my goodness.
All his enemies I knew, all his friends I knew, who lent him money, who he lent money, I knew.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Because he used to die, he would write on January 18th, 1985.
Oh gosh.
I went there. That was how I even found out that there was a girl he wanted to marry in our village. And they told him that he was too poor to marry the girl. And they were not going to allow him to marry the girl. So, and when the girl and her husband became a tenant in my father's property, he wrote it that imagine, they said I was too poor to marry, but now you and your husband are tenants in my house. in my house. Right? I knew that story even before my mom because I found it in his diary.
His diary. Yeah. Oh gosh.
So I used to read. Then my father had newspapers and magazines for a lot. So I used to read cover to cover. So I liked that. I liked easy reading. I said, maybe I should try and be a lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But it became very hard. I said, no, political science. There was something I could do.
Yes.
Discuss politics or discuss political trends without blinking an eye. So there's this place where people used to read newspapers, right? Buy newspapers, Free Readers Association. My father was a chairman. They'll go to where they sell newspapers, then they will get newspapers for free.
Okay.
And debate politics.
Oh gosh.
The government is this is that.
Yes.
I took over as vice chairman.
People's Parliament.
Yeah, People's Parliament. I took over as vice chairman of that parliament because when I go there and I'm debating, people are like, how old is this guy?
Yes.
So there was a doctor who my father would say, this guy will be a medical doctor. The man come up and say, don't waste your time. This boy will never read medicine. This boy is destined to be a politician. So let him do politics. So I went in to study political science. Then got into university and found out that it's all scam.
Okay.
That regardless of what you read, right, you could do anything, right? So you just need a degree to get out there and figure yourself out.
Yeah.
Finished, but throughout school, I hustled, right? Looking at me here, I did construction.
Wow.
Yes,
in
my neighbor.
In a project?
Yeah, my
Wow.
neighbor was building a house. I was carrying cement. I can mix cement.
Wow.
Yes, I did construction.
Mm-hmm.
That was still out of necessity.
I needed money, man, because
Hunger.
listen, they used to give me pocket money that was not enough. And that pocket money, when they give it to me, I look at my mom, she has not done her hair. I say, Mommy, take back the pocket money. I
Yes,
I had to
yes,
survive.
yes, that's true.
I had to survive. I had to,
Yeah.
So during the strikes, Nigeria was famous for strikes.
Yeah.
Then it meant that I had to look for something to do. I had to get into it. Yeah.
Wow.
And one thing, even my friends tell me today that I am not ashamed to do anything legitimately to earn money. Right? Some people will tell me, Ike, this is beneath you. I say it's not beneath you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? If I have to clean a toilet today to feed my family, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it to smile.
Yeah.
I won't even say who will look at me,
Yeah.
who will, but
What do people
that's
think?
not at all.
I really like that trait, that shamelessness.
And I'm very shameless. When it comes to providing for myself. So I went into, and it was my neighbor. My next door neighbor, she was building in one place. So there's this, you know how you get some land, government woke up and say, if you don't build within
then they will take
over the land.
Yeah.
So there was a massive construction boom. They started building. I went to the place and I started, mixing cement. Then I found out that the bag that carries cement had some valued resale.
Okay.
I would, after mixing the cement, I'll gather all the bags, I'll go and sell it.
Oh my goodness.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I left university and I was asked myself, what next? I studied political science. So after university in Nigeria, you have to do 1 year of National Youth Service.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the problem with the National Youth Service, at the time you had to do National Youth Service, was that in my department, the lecturers were gangster. They're so wicked. They didn't used to send people to do it on time.
Yeah.
So what happened was, it meant that I wasn't going to go youth service immediately because I hadn't sent our results. So I was chilled. But I needed to find something to do. People who had money send their kids abroad to do masters, send them abroad. Some people started different degrees or whatever. Then I was at home. I said, no, this is not my portion. Then I had this babe like that. So I told her that I want to go to the version, it's called Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs is like your Galitos.
Oh, okay.
So I said I did that. They were looking for young people to go and serve there. I said I need to go there and work. She told me, she said, can you don't have ambition. So if I call with my friends, my boyfriend will not be sending me a chicken.
Give me like 2 pizza and fries.
I didn't understand. I'm like, what is wrong there? She stopped talking to me. She was like, this guy is just don't have
not
ambitious.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, ambition. I'm like, what else am I supposed to do, man? I had to fight. So I went and applied. They told me I was not qualified.
You're
I
like,
couldn't believe it.
What's the qualifications?
What other qualification do you need to sell chicken and whatever? I said I was so qualified. And maybe I wasn't that hungry. I'm like, no. So I went to my dad's friend who was a principal in a secondary school. So I said I wanted to teach. So it was arranging for me to teach government because I had a political science to teach government. Then I had one dream. And I always mention this because this dream is one of the things that changed my life.
Okay.
In that dream, 3 women sat in front of me and pointed to my legs and said that, you think you've graduated now. With these legs, you will roam the face of the earth and you will never find a job.
Wow.
And I got up and I started rebuking them. At that point, it wasn't about religion or whatever. I said, I would never, I would never look for a job. I would never roam the face of earth looking for a job. I will always be productive.
Yes.
I was shouting and I was crying. My mother came downstairs like, what's going on with you? I told her about the dream. She joined me and we prayed. But from that day, I doubled my hustle. So I woke up one day, I said, I'm going to go and submit my CV. I had a CV that I had typed, but I was eating and I had stained it with oil.
Yes.
So I was going to a cyber cafe called Jill Online. I said, let me go there and type a CV afresh so that I can start applying for jobs. I woke up that morning, I went. So I went there. They know me at Jill Online. The Njideka, I think her name is Njideka, the general manager of the cyber cafe. She knew me. She came. I saw people with ties, shirts. They were all seated. The cyber cafe was not functional. They were there for an interview. I went. I said, I want to join them. She said, but these are people who are shortlisted.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Njideka,
Yeah, you know me.
you know me. I can do anything. Tell them inside there that they should interview me. I was like, this guy. I said, you know me.
Yeah.
It's not like something I cannot do here. She said, but you don't know the rule. I said, tell them.
Yeah.
She went, took my CV inside. I could hear the lady say, but we didn't shortlist him. She said, this guy is, maybe you might need to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So she was intrigued and asked me to come.
Mm-hmm.
When I sat there in that interview, I turned it to interviewing her. The interview went for like 1 hour. We were laughing and talking, and I was telling her how we can change the business or whatever. And when it finished, she said, what number can I reach you on?
Yeah.
I gave her my number. But you see, my phone had a problem. So what I used to do,
Mm-hmm.
my mom had a network and a phone that when she went to where she used to teach, there was no service. So it's like she had on this network, let's say she was on Airtel.
Mm-hmm.
And where she had to go teach, there was no Airtel service
Yeah.
there. So it means that it was useless for her when she was there.
Yeah.
So she would leave her phone at home. So what I used to do is that when she leave her phone at home, I remove her SIM. I put my SIM card.
That's your phone, yeah.
I'll be enjoying myself, right? I'll be flashing people so they can flash me back. But when the woman comes back, she said, people have been trying to call me.
Yeah.
Who removed my SIM card? So that used to be the fight. Now, so she didn't now ask, if I can't reach you, which other number should I call? And I'll give her my mother's number. And I left. So I waited 1 day, 2 days, she didn't call me. It's like, maybe all these things, she was just
being nice.
Me.
So one day, my mom was going out with her phone. I said, Mommy, why don't you keep your phone? There's no service. He said, you will remove. I said, Mommy, I promise you, I will not remove your SIM card. She just looked at me and left the phone. And I wanted to remove the SIM card. I said, Shebi, I promised. I'm a good boy. She said, I promised her. I said, I will remove it. Next thing, the phone rang. I picked. It was in your mouth. He told me that they have given you the job. I screamed. And said I was so excited that I was going to work for a company called MTech. So MTech, at that point, was the first, I would say one of the first new startups in Africa because MTech, was doing digital services for telcos. It was a mobile content company started by very young people who had just left the US. And when Nigeria had introduced GSM, came to Nigeria, they, chicken will be, let's build this thing. So they were looking for a content administrator to be based in Enugu, that city. And what was the job of the content administrators? To create interactivity on the radio. So what had come was that people used to dial radio stations, call a long number. It was very cumbersome and whatever. So we said we can make money out of this. How can we make money? We can create a short code. People can text, and the presenter will read out what they're texting on air and even call them back. And they can do so that was what was designed. So I was supposed to do that in Enugu, and that was why they did the interview there. So I was like, this is very nice. So
you didn't know how big this was.
I didn't know how big the company was.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the name of the company I was going to work because they just said they were selling ringtones. So I told my mother, what is ringtones? Ringtones? People will pay money to download because then there was 3310, so it was monophonic.
Yes.
So people will pay money for that. And I was like, no. So and I got the job.
Wow. So
when I got the job, I always, in any situation, I always want to look at and say, what else can I do here? So I looked at it, I said, no, we do ringtones, we can do a bit more, right? I started doing competitions. Then I'll go to Airtel, Guinness. I'll say, give me branded items. I'll come back and I'll say, we'll do a competition on air. I'll give out branded items. Right? And the guys are like,
that's a good idea.
This is not a bad idea because they were mentioning the name of my company on air, right? Which is free ad. The radio station, it was a win-win for them because they needed to maintain interactivity so that people are always on air because they wanted to win stuff. So they were like, this guy, that's what I was doing. And they started calling me Ike SMS. I became very popular. Ike SMS, Ike SMS.
Wow.
Ike SMS because sometimes the presenters wanted their girlfriends to be the one to win the merchandise. So they say, Ike, you're the one who knows the number now to win it. Can you say, is this number?
Oh, gosh.
So I became popular within the radio station, and within few months, Lagos took notice. They were like, nah, they were wasting this guy here. Let's bring him to Nigeria, to Lagos, for him to be responsible for all the media interactivity stations.
Wow.
I've been to Lagos twice at that point, but Lagos is a massive beast. You know, it's
really?
like someone is asking you to come from Kitale. Where's your shags?
Kiambu. Where is Kiambu?
Kiambu is, see, where's your shag?
Yeah, Meru.
Coming from his shags, maybe.
Yes.
Coming to Nairobi and they were like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So that's it. I came from shags, you know, Enugu. I came, wow, Lagos is, you know, in Nigeria, they say, welcome to Enugu, welcome here. But in Lagos, they say, this is Lagos. so I was arriving in Lagos and it was huge. Then I got there and again, it was trying to get the work done, solve problems, see opportunities.
Wow.
And you know, anytime I tell people who work for me or younger people or people I'm trying to mentor, I say to them that there's this principle, the parable of the talent, right, in the Bible, where you're given two talents and whatever. What did you do with your talents? A lot of people bury their talents. Right? A lot of people say, why should I work hard in this organization? It's not mine. Right? You're doing yourself. And the way I worked, every place I have worked, well, MTech is the way I worked in MTech. So if I see myself succeed in anything, there's a God factor, but there is also the seeds I sowed where I worked. Because in MTech, I used to sleep in the office.
Wow.
They used to chase me, go home. I said, there's work to do here. Why do I have to go home? Right? I didn't see any joy other than the work. I was young. I said, let me work here. Right? Like, you need to have work-life balance. I said, what is that? Work-life waiting. I don't know what are you talking. What is that? This is the balance. This is what is feeding me. This is all the balance I need. Right? I need to be here working. And literally, I saw myself grow because I joined MTech 25. By 26, I found myself in Kenya.
Wow.
Right? So at the point I got to MTech was when we were doing international expansion. And, you know, the guy who was in Kenya, because the way I was working, my colleagues in Nigeria didn't like me. They're like, this guy.
He's making us look bad.
This guy. You're just sucking up to the bosses all the time. You're just trying to see that you're efficient. This guy. In fact, nobody liked me. Right? So
we remember that kid in school.
Nobody liked, doing the most. Teacher's pet, doing the most. What is this? Right? And for me, like when they say, oh, does anybody want to do this? I'll say, yes, I'll raise my hand.
Yes.
Guy. Right? But for me, I wanted to learn. There was nothing I didn't want to learn. I felt that I needed to learn. So, and it hurt me that they didn't like me. But you know what? I was hungry for success. You know, I came to Kenya. When I came to Kenya, the story changed. Being in Kenya, the guy who brought me resigned and left. And I was told I had 3 months to pack up and pack up the business. Because at that point, in 2008, when I came to Kenya, it was very difficult for you to open your mouth and say you were Nigerian. Nigerians didn't want to identify as Nigerians. There was the stereotype. It was very bad. There was a Nigerian called Chinedu, right? Chinedu and Akinyi had a Kenyan wife. They said the guy was a drug dealer. Him and his wife were fighting every time. So every page you open Nigerian drug dealer Chinedu fighting with his wife Akinyi. It was just a mess.
My God.
So saying that you're Nigerian was problematic. Right? So imagine saying that you're a Nigerian business. Going to somebody and say, no, it will come me. Nobody wanted to associate with that. So, which was an opportunity. And maybe succeeding in that sort of gave me the superhero strength I did
and mindset
to shake up things. Because I said I was going to fix that. Remember that I'm a political scientist. I said, you know, this doesn't work. That there's a way to deal with it, and it has to be cultural diplomacy. What is cultural diplomacy? There are things about you people like. Use those things to reduce the barriers, reduce the walls so people can do business. Okay? I started promoting Nigerian music. Right? I used to take CDs of Nigerian artists because then there was no YouTube, CG, there's nobody knew all those things. I used to take Nigerian CDs. Or maybe that was YouTube, it wasn't popular. I used to take it to radio stations.
Okay.
I used to take it to clubs, Black Diamond, Red Tape, Resoros, they all knew me there. I was a regular. I would take them there, tell the DJ to play, and I would sit back and watch the crowd.
Yes.
And when I sat back and watched the crowd, I knew that they liked the music.
Yes.
And that time, Nigerian movie had been seeping in, which means that the women liked Ramsey Noah, they liked Ogao. So Nigeria was a forbidden fruit.
Yes, yes,
right?
Yes.
The women liked the guys, but they will not say it publicly because of the stereotypes around being a Nigerian. I said, I know my audience. Now I know who to target. There's no problem. Right?
You know your beachhead.
So I went and started doing music for Niger nights. All the Nigerian women in Kenya will come to Niger nights.
Oh my gosh.
So I started Niger nights, and so men will say, where will you find women? Niger nights. We're coming there. Right? It was the biggest thing. Niger night was bigger than any other team night.
Wow.
Right? And it was so popular. I was doing Niger nights. I was, then I said, okay, if this will work, let me start bringing Nigerian artists. P Square, The Bunch. It was huge. Then I said, okay, let's do movies. I brought Ramsey Noah, and there was a standstill here.
Wow.
Right? That person people used to see on TV. Now they see the person live. And so there was this shift, right? From something that you liked in secret and didn't want to talk about to something that you're proud to, whatever. So what happened? With. Radio Africa now even created Niger Nights, which is like movies, Afro cinema on Citizen. It was a huge influx of Nigerian culture. I remember one interview that the Pulse put out. They said Nijacked, which means that Nigeria has hijacked the social culture in Kenya. Right? It was very popular. So, but this was not in happening on one hand, because there's a very important point in the music. Remember that MTech was a digital content company. So we're selling music.
Yes.
So the more popular the music was, the more popular the CRBT platform was. The biggest selling music in Kenya at that point was Yori Yori by Brackets. I'm with you, my Yori Yori.
Yes, I remember.
Yes. Right? So in doing that, I said, okay, you know what, maybe I can be good at doing a label. Because I know all the end-to-end. Promotion, whatever. Then Kamula. I did Kamula, brought Kamula, and they blew out. Like, I did the massive. The first Kenyan videos to show on MTV were videos I paid for. Right? So Kamula party didn't stop. Tokoleza, video. P Unit, you guy, my guy. Vera needs to cut me my check because I gave her her career. That video was what showed Vera to the world, because I'm the one who casted. I said, casted her. And
you knew what the audience was.
Vera became
a huge
popular.
deal.
Eric Omondi as well. Eric Omondi, I'm the one who put him on Night of 1,000 Laughs. Paid for his first international passport.
Wow.
Took him shows outside Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and whatever. And before you know it, was sensitive. So literally, I figured that we could build this. And that is how I will get into different parts of entrepreneurship, events management, did experiential marketing, and etc. Yeah.
Wow. That's such a, from medicine.
Well, and by consolation, I married a medical doctor. So since I couldn't be one, let me marry one now.
I know. But wow, this is really, really impressive. And we haven't even gotten to Zuri Health. So I'm just curious, from now, that time, you could really see the shift from, what you were doing and how it impacted Kenya and open up Kenya to where you're from, which was Nigeria. But I'm curious now, during all this time, was some sort of vision of like what you want to do, like brewing in your mind, and like, thoughts around like making Kenya like your home country, doing your own business in Kenya? Like, when did that thought process sort of start?
When I got married, right? So, my parents always had this fear that you are at an age where it's possible you see somebody and get married. So would you ever come back home? Right? So and it's important because this is a very important question you asked. At the point I got married, MTech said, you are a group MD. Why are you in Kenya?
Wow.
MTech is a Nigerian company. You should be in Nigeria.
Mm.
So I used to travel every 2 weeks, fly into 2 weeks, into Lagos,
Okay.
fly back every 2
Okay.
weeks. You know, so like, what are you doing? You need to come back and be here permanently. And I'm like, my wife has not lived in Nigeria before. We just got married, just had a baby.
Yeah.
Her friends, her support system are here. I know. I quit.
Wow.
And I was shocked. And this is the next story, because when I quit, I was at the height of my powers.
Yeah.
Career.
All you've
Everybody
built
knew
for
me.
many years.
I was a big boy. I was a big boy then. There's no, I'm a small boy. I was a big boy.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew all these powerful people. I knew all this, whatever. So I said everybody was going to support me. Right? All the artists.
Yeah.
Everybody, all my boys. They will call this my house. They used to stay. So like everybody, all these Nigerian artists would give me their content. All the Kenyan artists who I was working with, Waire, Nameless, Autiso, they all give me their content. I was their boss. I was the guy everybody looked up to, right? All the people in the telcos knew me. So I was very powerful. Lies. Do not peg your power on your position, peg it on your personality. I learned that lesson.
Wow.
Because all my powers was the position. What they knew was the CEO of MTech. Right? It was MTech. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. At that point, it wasn't me. It was my office. Right? Yeah. So the day I resigned,
powers out.
My phone that used to ring non-stop stopped ringing.
Oh gosh.
All the people who promised me they were going to do this for me, they were going to do that for me.
Wow.
Nobody.
Wow.
There was absolutely nobody who remembered or wanted to pick my calls anymore. In fact, I just shot a video with Waire. Very dope video that was whatever. And he was one of the artists I agreed. I can't forget this because the day I was carrying my thing, going to the lift opened. Guess who I saw in the lift? Waire was coming to see my successor.
Immediately.
I was still with my bag, my box.
Yes.
Right? I was taking my stuff, to the car, and my successor was walking me back, telling me, okay, well, whatever. And guess who was there?
Waire.
Hey, I said, no, I had a meeting with William myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't blame him. It's not, he knew that with MTech at that point, or me, I was trying to experiment on something that was, so I never forgot that lesson.
Wow.
Peg your power
to your personality.
Your person, not on your office, right? Let people know you for you, your capacity, your capabilities as an individual. So as you Tesh, market force or chapter doesn't define you. Tesh defines you, right? What you're able to achieve in life is what Tesh is, not whatever, right?
Yeah.
Similar to you, Mark. Chapter doesn't define you. It is you that defines you. So work on you. Work on pegging your power to your personality. That way, wherever you find yourself, whatever industry you find yourself, you build around your personality and not whatever position you occupy. And that's why some politicians, when they leave power, nobody remembers them.
Yes.
But there are some people, whether they're in power or not in power, they are still a center of attraction. If Obama walks in here, everybody...
It's true.
Yeah, there's some US presidents that nobody will even care about who you are. Whatever. So it's similarly.
Actually, saw a very interesting quote just today. Just says, it's not about being a one-hit wonder. It's about reinventing yourself across different cycles. And I think that's something you've done.
Yeah.
Very curious about how that setback or that realization propelled you to the next thing.
It was the hardest time of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the hardest time of my life mentally. It was the hardest time of my life emotionally.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was the hardest time of my life financially. Because you see, me leaving was an ego thing. The way I left, I won't resign like that any other place again. I'm telling you.
You do not recommend.
I don't recommend anybody to resign the way I did.
Yeah.
I resigned my car, a Passat. They said, okay, I said, I don't want the car. I'll buy my own car. I left them with maybe 6 million shillings of my entitlements, like the number of years I had worked. I said, keep the money. Keep the money. Don't talk to me. Keep the money. I don't know what to do.
Would you say you were very proud at that?
Very proud and very foolish.
Oh my gosh.
Hopelessly foolish. returned their insurance. I just had a baby.
Yeah.
So which means the health insurance was important. I say keep the insurance. I didn't pay my rent. If I know that, I would have paid my rent 1 year in advance before I resigned. Prepared myself. I had nothing. I didn't even have contracts with even the people I said I was going to do business. Nothing.
Yes.
But you were assuming at that point that all my connections
You'll
very
carry them forward.
very arrogant, foolish person. I was assuming that all my connections will come true. Everybody. In fact, when I was going to leave, my colleagues would say, we will resign with you. We will go with you, right? We will resign with you. But we love you. Stories. They didn't even pick my calls anymore. Shiro, all of them, nobody picked my calls anymore. They started dodging me.
Wow.
Fiona, Shiro, all of them, nobody picked my calls anymore.
Oh my God.
Yes, they didn't pick my calls anymore. Never.
Wow.
All of them. I said, do
you talk to them now?
We're best friends now. They didn't pick my calls anymore. I said, I thought we were going to build this thing together. Lie, in their mind, they checked. No, I don't know if this guy is going to succeed. I don't blame them. I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't do it. There's no plan. I didn't tell them a plan. I was just bravado and whatever, telling them that resign and come and join me. We'll do this thing together. They didn't pick my call anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Because the hunger they would have visited them. Oh my God, they had attempted that. The hunger that visited me later.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, how was that period like, and how did you reinvent yourself?
Period was hard. It was hard because I underestimated or I overestimated my whatever and didn't really look through the business.
Okay.
The business I was doing, a lot of people were doing it at that point. Content, artists, whatever. It was no longer the easy thing to get in.
Yeah.
So frankly, I even put restrictions on how many partners they can onboard.
I see.
Because at the point we were getting in, I was coming in with about 7 or 8 of us. Now there were over 100 people doing it.
Wow.
So managing 100 people was very difficult, right? So that's one. 2, I didn't have the artists. I didn't have the edge. I already created the Nigerian movement. A lot of people were trying to claim that. So there was nothing. MTech now started going to the artists to say, remember, we have interest in radio stations. We have interest in radio stations in Nigeria. We have interest in Radio Africa. If you go to Ike, your music will take it off all those stations.
Oh,
artists no, forget it. Forget Ike. Who's Ike?
I don't know.
What is Ike?
Who is that guy?
Forget that guy. Because they needed to survive.
Yes.
Right? It needed to survive. So it was hard for me. Very hard. And financially, it was very hard. Auctioneers came to my house like 4 times. It was traumatic for my wife.
Wow.
Very traumatic. Because, when some people come and say, oh, why is my wife not understanding that things are rough now, whatever. I'm sorry. The truth is, when you went and married a girl, if I was suffering, maybe she would not have agreed. She had looked and said, okay, these are my expectations. Right?
Yeah.
And as a man, I'll tell every man this, you must always work to keep the expectations that you've promised somebody's daughter. So if you're saying, coming to a life of comfort, try as much as possible to keep that life of comfort. And even if it's not there, try to communicate and show her a plan of when it will be there. That woman suffered. Because she came all of a sudden, no insurance. She came all of a sudden, auctioneers are knocking on her door. She's asking herself, I just had a child. Is this the future I want for myself? Right? It was very difficult, but she persevered. Right? So anything I owe, that woman has it. Every single thing. Because the sacrifice she made, right? Me, I've left her. If the reverse was the case, I would have taken off. Right? She persevered. It was difficult. Very difficult, navigating these challenges. So it was difficult to do business for the first 1 year. But I had some friends who saw my situation and they were like, they discussed among themselves. I didn't even know. They say, let's be sending Ike money. He's so proud he won't ask. Let's be sending him money. They'll give me money here, they'll give me money here. I didn't understand why they were giving me money, but I was taking it. And that for me was what was helping me. Then I started doing events, doing experiential marketing and activation. In doing those things, I saw opportunities, created a different thing. At some point, that was the biggest event company in Kenya.
Oh,
Telling you. Do you know I would do small events for Jack Daniels, Southern Comfort Activation in bars and clubs? I would do pool parties. I would do like 5 a week.
Wow.
And they were paying me 200K per each. I was making 1 million shillings a week.
Wow.
Right? I would do that activation. So brands will call and say, for an activation that big agencies will charge them 2.5 million shillings to do, Ike is doing it for 200K, delivering the same results. Right? So one of the big agencies will say, pay me 1.5 million shillings to come and do an activation for, let's say, Johnny Walker here. And Johnny Walker will hear that he sold 60 bottles. Meanwhile, Ike, for 200K, has sold 60 bottles of Jack Daniels.
Yes.
You're like, let's
Is
Let's
this
use
where
this.
the hype came back?
Yes.
Now you're bringing people to parties.
Yes. So I started doing activation, doing experiential marketing events, started doing the music label thing, and it was working. And all of a sudden, Taurus music just exploded. Kenya, Zambia, Uganda, Tanzania. In fact, in Uganda, this thing happened in Zambia, Taurus music was so big that even artists who were not signed to Taurus music would take the Taurus music signature
logo
and put it on their music so that radio stations would play it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's how big it was. That people will be saying, but you've signed this. I said, I don't even know who this person is. They say, but they are hearing this song. That's what was happening in Zambia. They will record a song, they will hear Taurus music. They'll put it in front of the song and send it to a radio station. Once the radio station heard Taurus music, they'll play it.
Yes.
Because I won Zambia their first Channel O awards.
Wow.
Right? So it was literally what was happening. And all of a sudden I started picking up again, doing well again. Then I met this Tesh, right? Young guy, brilliant, trying to do. I say, boss, I want you to mentor me. He found it very funny. I said, no, you have to mentor me. I'm too old for. I don't understand what's happening in this tech space.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll have meetings. He'll tell me stuff. I remember in South Africa, the first time, one of the time we went to South Africa, it was in Cape Town. There was a convention, African something at the Westin.
Yeah,
if you remember.
I remember.
At the Westin, he took
Convention
me,
Center.
went to some guys of Knife Capital. I was listening to him pitch, trying to get investors. I'm like,
okay,
maybe I can try this. Maybe I can try a new way, because trying to build bottoms up, like hand to mouth, wasn't working for me. And it was very hard. And the timing was long. So I said perhaps that he could mentor me and show me how to do a pitch deck the way people wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of different things. I was thinking of building a dating app.
Oh, really? Which year was this?
2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking of building a dating app. Then 2020 happened.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
COVID. But I was thinking of building a dating app and a health app. Right?
Okay.
Because something happened in 2012 that made me promise I was going to build a hospital.
Okay.
The birth of my daughter Zuri and the complications she had, I said I was going to build a dating, a health app. And in that health app, it was going to be a tribute to her and my wife, right? In terms of mother. So I decided I was going to build a hospital, a mother and child hospital, when I become wealthy. But since I wasn't becoming rich on time, I decided to do a health app, a doctor booking app.
Okay.
Now I was going to build both of them simultaneously. So guess who I went to? Tesh.
Okay.
To help me start developing building the technology and whatever. So you will come, we'll have meetings.
Yes.
Then one day I had a product manager. Right? A lot of people don't know the role this Tesh played in Zuri Health.
Okay.
I'll tell you. So I had a product manager who was supporting this. So I went to Tesh and said, I want to hire your product manager.
Okay.
He even drove and came and met me at Kasuku Center.
Okay. Your memory is really good.
Yes. At Kasuku Center. Came out. He said, well, she can work and guide her in terms of product. She's a big green, but she can work. She's young and whatever. And you have my blessings. Right? And that's how I found my co-founder, Daisy.
Oh my gosh.
So I hired her. I hired Daisy as an employee, but in my mind, I was looking for a co-founder.
Yes.
So
moving slowly,
I was, checking what we're doing in health. But just a few months back, before she was hired, COVID happened.
Okay.
And the whole world shut down.
Wow.
Right? And I remember coming back from the UK very sick. And I couldn't go to the hospital because we don't know. Then they came to the house to pick my urine, stool, blood samples. after that experience, I told my wife, I need to pivot. I need to change how I was building Zuri Health. Instead of a doctor booking app, I want to make a virtual hospital.
I see.
Now, Daisy was the product manager handling the dating app. And I told Tesh, and Tesh said, take her. Right? And gave me his blessing. So I took her. And Daisy started working for me. And after working with her for a while, I asked her to co-found Zuri Health with me. And that was how we started Zuri Health. So thank you again, Tesh.
Awesome, you're welcome. I'm really proud of you guys, honestly, how far you've come. I worked with Daisy for many years. And what's exciting is she's in the next episode
interesting.
of Champions. So she'll continue the story of Zuri Health, no pressure. So because we need to wrap up.
Yeah.
So Mark, do you have any interesting question? We've had so much today.
I know.
Sorry, I've talked too much.
I know. I think, damn, gosh, Ike's story and journey is just so impressive.
Yeah.
I remember we were in South Africa with you in 2022, 2023?
2023.
And you mentioned something like COVID, or year after COVID was one of the toughest years. So maybe as we wrap up, you could just sort of like mention that, and also how you're able to research personally and also with Zuri Health.
So COVID was very tough because it affected me in a lot of ways, my personal life, my health, and the business that was paying the bills. Because remember, I was doing events and whatever, and nobody was going for events. And I was no bill to pay. So I started to see an opportunity in doing COVID testing. Right? And
what you actually you lost a lot of your revenue, almost all the revenue on the other business, right?
All my revenue was gone.
So this was an opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Myself. So I decided to, you know what, I was going to try and see how we could do COVID testing. And one of the strategies in terms of Zuri Health growth was growth by partnership. I didn't have a lab. I didn't have phlebotomies to pick samples. I didn't have pharmacies. I didn't have doctors, but I created an aggregating platform, which is what Zuri Health is, and partnered with people who had labs, who had pharmacies, who had doctors, and used them to do my fulfillment, right? And found it easier that instead of me to go to a new market and recreate this again, I can just build partnerships. So I can be here. So Zuri Health within 3-4 months built partnerships in 8 markets.
Wow.
To do COVID testing.
Wow.
We became the first company to do COVID testing inbound and outbound, which means we do COVID testing for you here in Kenya, do COVID testing for you in South Africa, do for you in and how did I do it in South Africa? We were at Africa Tech Summit. That was during COVID, because that time, if you're coming back or try, you have COVID. I looked at the number of people there. I called this, I said, come Daisy. All these people need COVID tests. She said, yes. I said, do what? You know what you're going to do? Start talking to the tech team, how to create simple booking, whatever, and put the Flutterwave link. So that when you pay, we'll receive the money. Let me find a partner. I went online and searched COVID testing. I saw one partner. I called the number. I said, listen, you're now my partner. I'm now in South Africa. How much will you sell me COVID test? He says something like 400 rand. I said, okay, good. I'll pay you 400 rand, but I will cross-sell it at 650 or 700 rand. He said, okay, fine. I said, you come and pick this up. I said, okay, good. Now it's done. I announced on the group. Meanwhile, you can do your COVID test with Zuri Health now live in South Africa.
Oh my gosh.
The summit went crazy. Like, even the founders spoke to my business and said, come, when did you come into South Africa? I thought, I don't understand. I said, we're here. We're live now. Right? We're live now. We made $10,000.
Wow. That event.
Wow.
In fact, after that event, one other company that was doing startup boot camp in Senegal. I said, I'm in Senegal. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Senegal. I said, I'm there too. I went look for COVID testing partner in Senegal. Found one. Did the same thing. Next thing we did. Man. That's how we're doing. Right?
Wow.
Egypt, there's no way I didn't do COVID tests. Egypt, Dubai, Canada. I would just Google. Somebody was like, I said, Canada, we have partners there.
Yes.
And we built revenue out there. And we just figured that growth by partnership was the way. That there's no way you could build the same rails. Imagine me trying to find money to have a lab.
Yes.
Imagine me having to find. It was not going to be possible. And that's it.
And I think that's a trend for anyone who's following some of the largest tech businesses today. That's similar model, Uber, Airbnb, all these guys.
Yeah.
Is really it's partnership. If you have all these drivers everywhere, or yeah.
You use what other people have built and you save
Yes.
yourself a lot of time.
Exactly. So that's a massive lesson, and a lesson on courage as well.
Mm.
You know, just the balls to do that and to
Yes.
announce. Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow. I think say thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One last ask would be, maybe there's an Ike now who is like 24, 25, thinking about doing something, not sure of how to proceed. Like, what would you say to a young, inspiring individual or entrepreneur?
I'll say 5 things.
Mm.
Number 1, go with God.
Mm.
Right? In everything you do, put God at the front and center. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but I'll say that it's the fact is true. When you put God at the center of everything you do, it will succeed. Number 2, fail. In fact, the earlier you fail, the better. You must fail. Try and fail. The earlier you fail, the better. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is a very important thing. Fail first.
Yeah.
So you must fail. So when you fail, be excited. Say, yeah, I failed. Throw a failure party. Because it means you're going to succeed. It means that you're going to learn. Number 3, lean. Lean startup. Everybody must read that book.
Yes.
You must grow lean. Right? The fact that you've raised $5 million does not mean you can hire somebody from Safaricom, you pay $500K. No. Grow lean. They will say you're stingy. They will say you don't pay well. Grow lean first.
Yes.
Number 4, always from day 1, put your eye to how am I going to move the hockey stick towards profitability. Chase profitability from day 1. Investors will come and tell you, no, chase, forget that. The same investors that will tell you to chase market share
later.
are the ones who will come and say you don't have traction, you don't have revenue. Chase revenue from day 1.
Yeah.
Always think, how do I move the hockey stick towards revenue? And 5, it's discipline.
Wow.
Discipline. You must be disciplined. You must learn discipline. You must have mentors who, because, being successful at a very young age can mess with you. So be careful. Find mentors, be disciplined, be focused, and all will be well.
Wow.
Thanks, Ike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, so champions, thanks so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to hear more amazing stories, journeys, learn from the best. And yeah, we're building our continent.
Last party in short.
Yes.
There's something that people need to do. And something Mark did for me.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a very spiritual thing, but a very powerful thing. Mark carried my bag in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
We went for a pitch, and I think I won the slot for Kenya and whatever. And when we were leaving, I had bought a lot of stuff. Mark carried my bag.
Wow.
And I blessed him for it. And I told him that whatever he set his hand will succeed.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing Chapter succeed. So for young people, don't be afraid of seeing someone successful, somebody who have done well. Honor the person because you're honoring yourself. So thank you for honoring me. And that was why I was very happy to be here with you to say that whatever you've set your hands on will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Ike. That's so amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Cheers, guys.